So is masculinity under attack? This question is explored in Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. It's a film that dives into the world of toxic masculinity norms. Take a look.
There's certainly no shortage of absurdity when it comes to influencers promoting health online.
A lot of these male influencers are selling products, they're selling fitness plans, they're selling like meat subscriptions.
Another pound of frozen ground beef.
So they actually want you as a consumer to benefit them. It's like how to get masculine eyebrows, how to get masculine hands. So it's all these ways of kind of making men more and more insecure in just how they show up in the world.
So the documentary is hosted by misinformation researcher and author Timothy Caulfield, and we're thrilled to have him back here today to tell us all about it. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So I feel like this idea of masculinity under attack, I mean, we hear it a lot lately, but it's not something that's really new. It's been going on in different iterations for generations. Can you talk about how things are different right now?
Yeah, I think that point is crucial. Look, people have been complaining about masculinity being under attack really for centuries. And we're hearing it more and more now, I think, because it's playing a role in selling ideology, in selling products, in selling brands,
selling
right?
Political beliefs?
Yeah, exactly right. And what I think is really important to recognize now is the pressure, not so much the idea that's under attack, but the pressure to adopt a very narrow, rigid view of masculinity. And that's really what's unhealthy and I think doing the damage today.
You know, your documentary in particular looks into the ways that the wellness industry in particular has honed in on the traditional masculine ideology and norms. So how are we seeing that happen?
Well, look, I've studied the wellness, as you guys know, yes. For decades. I've looked at the wellness industry. And, you know, not entirely, but largely it's been kind of focused on women, right? And now we're starting to see the shift focus on men, and the same tactics are used, right? You know, create insecurity, right? Create anxiety, and then sell products and potions and politics as a way of solving those issues. And of course, it's not really gonna solve anything. And they are pushing absurd things, as you just heard, like how to have a masculine neck, how to have masculine hands, how to sit like a man, like get out there and man spread, right? Which is, no, don't do that. Which is absurd, but people are listening and it's doing real harm.
So you explore, as you're kind of hitting at, like some of these wild trends that are circulating on what you call the manosphere right now. Can you highlight some of those for us?
So much absurdity. You guys, where to start? Well, first of all, they're the crazy diets, right? The carnivore diet's a really good example about that. Yes, people are drinking urine, all right?
Yes.
I saw this, you guys, I saw it happen. People are eating testicles, and those are raw testicles, and the idea it's gonna give you more testosterone and make you more manly. And to get that jaw, right? People, have you heard of mewing? Have you, this idea of, so you're supposed to, you know, chew on this really hard, of course I try it, to get a masculine jaw. I mean, on and on and on. And the important thing to recognize is, look, there's no evidence to support any of it, right? The promise is it's gonna make you better, healthier, and the evidence just does not support those notions.
Okay, but there's so many people, like I just got sucked into that mewing video, like, and that was 10 seconds, not even of it. So you do spend a lot of time with these a lot of influencers in the so-called manosphere. You have that self-titled rewilding coach, and that is Will Blunderfield. And he does things like we just said. He drinks his own urine, and this is supposedly, there it is.
Your face says it all.
And I don't know about you, but I see him getting more masculine already. But what is the appeal? You've spent time with these people, so what is the appeal for them?
Well, I saw him fill up I don't know how graphic you want. And he, to the top, and it was still warm, and he chug-a-lugged it. But look, you know, Will's a really, really good example, right? Because you saw it, he's engaging, he seems sincere, and it almost has this intuitive appeal to it. Like, you know, believe it or not, you leave Will and you go, I get it, I kind of get it, right? And he's trying to build a community, and he's also responding to what he sees as a real need. So I think we need to be empathetic, even when it's that absurd, right? We need to recognize that something is drawing people in.
Did you answer that question?
Well, we try to answer the question, and I went in, I'm super, you guys know me, I'm all about the evidence, I'm a little bit cynical, and I think one of the things I really took away from talking to so many different communities is it's complex, right? There's not just one view, and there is sort of a hunger out there for some direction.
You talked to a lot of young men for this documentary, and some of them were your students, and then and other places as well. How is the manosphere impacting them right now?
I think it's important to recognize, we have absurd things like this, but it is doing real harm, like measurable harm. We had the opportunity to talk to an individual, unfortunately didn't make the final cut, but where he said that the manosphere caused him to have an eating disorder to the point where he was hospitalized, right? Because there's this unrealistic expectation. I'm supposed to look like, like Batman. I'm supposed to have this completely unattainable body. And if you're an adolescent, a young adult, those pressures can do real harm. And then you also just see the psychological pressure, right? To not to be your authentic self, right? Not to have the opportunity to walk the path that you want to walk. On the contrary, they're telling you to walk this narrow path. And if you don't do this, something's wrong with you. And I think that's just a terrible message.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're kind of alluding to this, but the idea that this hyper-masculine messaging, it is hurting not just heterosexual men, it really is affecting everybody out there. So what did you find in your research?
You're right about that. And I think some people don't, recognize that. They think of, again, just this very narrow traditional masculine norm. So we had the opportunity to talk to Chris Wells, a professor who's now a senator, by the way. He's the Pride tape guy, right? There he is. And he really emphasized, look, these narrow norms, this push towards hypermasculinity is doing real harm for individuals from those communities because they don't feel welcome anymore. They feel like there isn't a place for me in your community, and they're dropping out of sports. They're finding their communities are shrinking, and again, that's a terrible outcome. And then we interviewed an individual named Travis. He's a dragster racer, and really a fascinating guy. And he's a really good example of the complexity you were talking about, because here's this gay man. He calls himself the fastest gay on earth, and he enjoys traditional masculine norms, the aesthetics of it, the community. And so he's not asking people to change. He just wants there to be room for people like him in that community. So I loved that.
Love that. We have about a minute left. We know that there are some people and groups who are pushing against these sort of restrictive binary stereotypes. So talk about some of the examples that you discovered, the ways that people are trying to reimagine manhood for the better.
Yeah, I loved this part of it. We got to talk to these little communities. We talked to men that were, parents, fathers, and they got together. We talked to hip hop artists in New York, all these men's groups. And I love that because it's the positive side of this story, right? The idea of building a community, of having friends, and loneliness is a big part of the manosphere. And we're gonna build friends and also talk about what masculinity means to us, and create this constructive, open path forward.
So good. Tim, such a pleasure always
Thank you.
having you here.
Thanks, guys.
So,
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.